Chapter 20. The fifth letter, He. God produced He, predominant in speech, crowned it, combined it and formed with it Aries in the universe, Nisan in the year, and the right foot of man, Sepher Yetzirah, 24. The fifth Hebrew letter is He, one of the 12 simple letters. It corresponds to the zodiacal sign Aries and with the function of the breath in its relation to speech. As we have learned that number 5 wherever found refers to man or humanity in some aspect, so the fifth letter represents man as distinguished from all other animals. For while he is the breath of life which is shared by all animals, yet only man has the principle of intelligence, Aries, the head, so well developed that he can use the breath to formulate and express his ideas in intelligent speech. While all animals have some form of intelligent communication, still only man has the power of speech. He, however, expresses more than the breath which forms speech. Its greatest and most important meaning, and the one which was generally used by the Hebrews, is in its relation to the renewal of life. Physical breath alone cannot accomplish this. It can prolong physical life somewhat, but is incapable of renewing it until it is consciously combined with the psychic breath, in which case it at once becomes the mediating principle between God and between man and nature, also the link which attaches body to spirit. Hence he is not only breath, but vitalized and spiritualized breath. The sign Aries, which is here referred to the fifth letter, is the crown sign of man, ruling the head. While we are told that out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh, yet if man did not manifest his supremacy in his position at the head of the animal kingdom through the use of his head and the power of speech, he could not maintain that position. In the letter He, as in number 5, we find man or the microcosm considered as a vehicle for the expression of the forces of the macrocosm, again the link between God and nature. He is also called a window in that he who has mastered the mysteries of the breath can look with clear eyes, which are the windows of the soul, through the prison house of flesh and the limitations of matter, and behold the glories of the heaven world. It was this letter He, corresponding to our letter H, that was added to the names of both Sarai and Abram, to make them Sarah and Abraham. And by the bringing forth of their son Isaac, meaning laughter, the life of both was renewed and prolonged. Later on Abraham was commanded by the Lord, the law, to offer up as a burnt offering his renewed life, joy, and laughter, Isaac. Indeed, many of us think we are called upon to make the same sacrifice when life seems to demand that we give up that which is most dear to us. But after submitting to the decree and passing his test, Abraham found a ram, Aries, caught by its horns in the thicket to take the place of his child of promise as a sacrifice. Thus will we always find that when we are willing to make the sacrifice which the law seems to demand, after we have passed the test interiorly, we will not have to make the sacrifice outwardly, for we will find a substitute at our right hand. The ram symbolizes the head and its powers, which are caught in the tangle of intellectual misconceptions which have resulted because man has been misled by the speech of those who have misinterpreted the law, Lord, so that the physical mind or rational human consciousness cannot see the angel of truth standing before the altar upon which we must place our sacrifice. Yet as a result of the cry which bursts from our hearts as we bind our sock upon the altar, a new vision is vouchsafed to us. We open our eyes and see the ram and realize that ram is the misconceptions of the head and the perversions of our powers which we must lay upon the altar that they may be purified by the fire of the law. We will then understand that it is this ram that must be the real sacrifice, that it may become the lamb which was slain from the foundation of the world, that its mystical blood, symbolizing the spiritual life force, might be given freely for the renewal and regeneration of all. This interpretation may seem vague and mystical to some, but to those who are real students of mysticism, i.e., who have been able to correlate to some extent with the ever-hidden springs of being, there will be no difficulty. Another interpretation is that the ram represents the powers of man's head caught in the thickets of worldly conditions where life itself makes him the victim of his use of speech. Just as Aries leads the signs of the zodiac, so does the letter he become a leader, and so in turn must the masculine force of intellect be the power which shall lead the flocks of masculine thoughts and feminine intuitions into the green pastures and beside the still waters. Just as the ram tears down the underbrush with his strong horns and makes a path through which the sheep and lambs may reach the tender, succulent grass which grows under the brush, so should the intellect tear aside all hampering conceptions, overcome mental difficulties, and lead the thoughts where they can feed upon the tender manifestations of divine love and compassion which are growing unseen about the roots of the outward conditions. Yet the intellect should always be ready to sacrifice itself at the dictates of the law as revealed through the illumined heart.